Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over the water to Denmark and we're going to return to a brewery who are quite highly rated and quite rightly so in my opinion. So we're going to return to Indslev Bryggeri, but instead of one of the ugly duck beers we're going to have a taste of one of their Indslev beers, which of course Indslev Bryggeri are a specialist wheat beer brewery. So this one is Mørk Hvede, literally I think dark wheat you would call this, and this one is a Dunkel Weizen beer. And the one that I reviewed for you before from the Indslev range was the Hvede IPA, and I have to admit I really enjoyed that beer. I love these wheat IPA hybrids that are popping up now, and it was very nice, the wheat part of it was very smooth and the hoppy part of it was done really well. I really enjoyed that beer, so I really hope this one follows in the same light, and I'm sure it will. But a big thank you again to the guys at Indslev Bryggeri for sending me these beers. They sent me a box of like 10 ugly duck beers and 4 of these Indslev ones as well, so a huge thank you to Mike and Anders at the brewery for organising that for me. I hope you guys enjoy the reviews that I'm doing for you, and you will see these in the coming months. You'll see them over February and March and maybe into April as well. Actually, there's quite a few of these reviews to do. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual websites are in the video description below. That's the Ugly Duck and the Indslev websites. There's also the links to my reviews of both brands that are down there before. More will be added in the near future, of course, and there's all the usual social media, Facebook, Twitter and Untappd. Please follow me on there. Your support would be much appreciated, and if you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel, and I will apologise in advance for any bad Danish pronunciations. I'm still getting hold of Swedish, so Danish of course will take just a little bit longer. But anyway, Indslev Brewing Company or Indslev Bryggeri are based in Nørre Aaby near Middelfart on the island of Fyn in Denmark, or Funen I believe is how you call it in English. But if you go to Copenhagen, that's Zealand. Go to the next island to the west, and that is Fyn. And if you go to the northwestern part of that island, you will find Nørre Aaby up there near Middelfart. But the Indslev Brewery has roots that trace back to the year 1897, but they reopened as a modern brewery in 2006, and since 2012 they've also been brewing the Ugly Duck beers too. But the brewery is owned by Anders Rasmussen, whose great-grandfather Frederick built the brewery back in 1897, and this is the same building that they're still brewing out of, incidentally. But both of these guys grew up on the family farm, which is right next to the brewery. But Indslev, as I mentioned, were the first modern brewery in Denmark to specialise in the brewing of wheat beer, and they remain the only brewery in Denmark that do this today. So it's quite a unique brewery in that regard, but their desire to brew different beers in addition to these wheat beers was what led them to brew the Ugly Duck range as well. As I said, the Ugly Duck range are I find the Ugly Duck beers to be quite a kind of retro take on American craft beer, if you like. They're very good, but the wheat beers are supposed to be very good as well. I would agree with that from the one I reviewed for you before. But the two brewers at this brewery are Stefan Peter Stadler, who is from Munich, and he graduated from the Hofbräu School, obviously a very prestigious institution, and he's worked in various German and Danish breweries. And there's also Torben Steenholt, who I believe is Danish, and he's brewed previously for Velje and Brockhaus Bryggeri. And the brewery building has been modernised and has a brew kit from Kasper Schultz in Bamberg in Germany. Bamberg, of course, as I've mentioned to you on these videos before, is a bit of a holy grail of beer. If you want a brew kit from anywhere, you want it from Germany or even from Belgium, one of the big beer producing countries. But these guys, very highly rated. The Indslev beers are the specialist wheat beers, so if you enjoy your wheat beer, try some of these. But if you enjoy the more American style beers, go for some of the Ugly Duck things. So just to list the other beers you can get in the Indslev range, there's the Sort Hvede, which is the black wheat, Svane Hvede, which is a white wheat beer, Spelt Bock, which is their, I think it's a sort of Weizenbock beer, Påske Hvede, which is the Easter beer, Jul Hvede, which is the Christmas beer, Hvede IPA, which I reviewed for you before, really nice one. There's the Hvede, which is white, the Hvede Bock, which is Weizenbock, Frederick's Pauste, which is an Easter beer, Mørk Hvede, this guy here, which is a Dunkel Weizen, Frederick Jule, and also Frokost, which is the lunch beer. And of course, Ugly Duck Brewing Company have various American style beers there too. I've reviewed quite a few of those for you now, so if you click on the links in the description below or go and search Ugly Duck in the channel, you can see those, and of course check out that website too. But anyway, let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer itself. Now I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at this one. This one is a 4.9% Dunkel Weizen. It didn't actually list on the website what hops and things they used in this, but I would guess, since it's a German style of beer, they probably use German noble hops, you know, like Tecknanger or Hallertau things. They probably use some of these in here, but you can see it's presented in the same way that the Hvede IPA was. You can see the swan, which is the symbol of Indslev Bryggeri there. But it looks very nice. You can see that on the top label too. Nice silver swan, and it's a plain bottle cap on this one. On the back it tells you a little bit about this. I looked at what this was before I started the video. It basically tells you that it was, it tells you a bit about the style here, that the oldest traces of the Dunkelweizen style go back to 800 BC, and it was found in a tower in Franconia. They found a very old one in Franconia, and they believe that's one of the earliest roots of brewing actually. So it's quite an interesting little story behind the Dunkelweizen. So we'll get this guy open and get on with the tasting, but as you can see, it's a nice smoky opening there. So one thing I should also say with this video, since it's a Weizen beer, I actually used to drink a lot of Hefeweizens, or just Weizens in general, you know, Dunkelweizens, everything like that. I used to drink a lot of them, but then I went to Germany and I actually found I couldn't drink as much wheat beer as I thought I'd be able to. I find this style very, very filling actually. So I stopped drinking so many wheat beers and I really started to enjoy Helles beer actually. So I don't drink too many Weizen beers anymore, but I do enjoy tasting them, but it's not something I would normally drink as a session beer. It's just a little bit heavy for me, but I do really enjoy trying them every so often. So as you can see, there was a kind of quarter finger of a frothy, slightly beigey tan head on this one, but it's poured very, very nicely. I would say if I hold this up to the light, I'll bring the light down and let you see the exact colour of this. You can see it's a nice kind of nutty brown colour. It's a little bit coppery as well actually. If you shine the light through it, it does have a bit of copper tint to it. I'm not sure how well you can see. There is a degree of transparency to this beer, but it's probably quite hard for you to see on the camera just because of the colour of it, but it looks very nice. There's one or two big bubbles just sticking towards the side of the glass just down at the bottom here. No visible sediment, but I think there is just a tiny little bit of it in the bottom of the bottle there, but you can see quite a few little bubbles just heading up towards the bottom of that head now, but that head is just a very thin foamy layer. And one thing you'll notice when you pour this beer is you can smell some of the candied fruits and the caramel coming off this one, a little bit of the banana as well. But let's give this guy a good smell and see how we get on here. So yeah, you sugar it up. The first thing you're going to notice, you have these typical Dunkelweizen notes. So you're getting that banana character out there, the big bready and yeasty character of course, but the banana I think is actually quite prominent on this one. It's not too sweet, it just blends in together quite well with these typical bready yeasty characters that you expect of a Weizen beer. There's some of the toasted caramel in there too, but it's actually quite subtle. The wheat and the yeast and things are really pushing their way out of this one. You only really smell a very little bit of the caramel in there, but it's quite toasted, I should say. You can smell a wee bit of spice in there, you know, there's a bit of clove, a bit of maybe pepper as well, but again, that's very subtle. It's more the sweeter kind of banana and bready yeasty flavours that are coming out of this one, or aromas, I should say. But you can also smell a little bit of a red fruity ester on this one. As I always say, it kind of reminds me of the Haribo Heart Sweets. It's a little candied red fruit ester, this one. So this one has all the typical elements you would expect of a wheat beer, especially a Dunkelweizen, of course. But it smells really nice, so without further ado, let's get stuck into this guy. So this is the Mørk Hvede from Indslev Bryggeri near Nørre Aaby on Fyn in Denmark. Skål! Well, on first taste, the thing you're going to notice about this beer is again just how smooth it is, and I think that I've noticed with the Ugly Duck beers, you've got that slightly darker floral aromaticity that is their trademark, if you like, for me, especially with their IPAs and things like that. And with these wheat beers, they have this really, really smooth mouthfeel, and I've never quite had a wheat beer that is as smooth as that. They've got this really smooth, and it's almost a little bit of a chalky mouthfeel, and it works really well actually. But sugar this beer around your palate and let your whole mouth adjust to it, because the first thing, I have to admit, when I take this beer in and just taste it for the first time, it actually doesn't feel as if it's too big in flavour, but when you sugar the beer around your palate and let your full palate adjust, you get a lot more out of it. That bready character in this one really starts to take hold on your tongue and starts to build its way out. On the first little sip, you actually don't get much flavour out of it. It really takes a little while to build this one. But yeah, it is actually really nice. Again, like I say, that smooth wheaty character that these guys seem to do works very, very well. So with this one, as you would expect, the middle of your palate is just blanketed with a really nice, big, bready and yeasty flavour. That just blankets the middle of your tongue there. There's a bit of banana on there, but the banana is nowhere near as prominent as you would expect it to be from the aroma, and that's one of the kind of misleading things about the aroma a little bit. The banana flavours are a lot more downplayed in this, and on top of that bready and yeasty malt base, you've got the sweet caramel, which is just pushing those banana flavours down. I'm sure if you tried like the white wheat beer, the Fida, or the regular faded beer, then the banana flavours would be a lot more prominent. Because this is a darker beer and it's a bit more malty with caramel and things, you know, that's exactly what you'd expect. You expect the beer to just be a little bit more toasted, but it's very nicely done. But yeah, you can get a little bit of the clovey and peppery spice, but like I say, the wheat malt base in this, the wheat and yeasty malt base that you get out of this beer is ridiculously smooth. It's a bit of a trademark of these Indslev beers, but it's done very nice. This beer is quite subtle in a lot of its flavours, but they just blend together really well in the middle of the palate. Maybe around the back corners you're pardon me, you're getting some of these earthy hop characters. You can definitely pick up a little bit of noble hop character out of this one. So I would be tempted to say that they probably have used German noble hops in this beer. Just from the taste, you can pick that up. So you've got this very smooth, earthy character in the back corner of the palate, and as you come further forward, the beer actually gets quite grassy and just a little bit floral. You can feel that around the front edge of your tongue. The front edge of the tongue, it has just a little bit of dryness to it, which is very nice. But yeah, as I said, the banana flavour, I should say as well, does build a little bit as you take more and more sips of this beer. But again, it's very, very nicely done. The flavours in this one are actually quite a bit more subtle, I find, than the Fada IPA that I reviewed for you before, but it's very nice and it's very drinkable. And if I'm honest, as I said, I don't drink Weizen beers too often, and it's because to me they're a tasting beer. You know, it's like a Doppelbock or like an Imperial Stout for me. You want to drink one of those every so often as a tasting beer. Wheat beers really became like that for me because I just didn't find them all that sessionable. They became, you know, they're very, for me, the German ones are very, very heavy beers. I can only really drink one. It's not a sort of beer you can session. But the thing that Indslev Bryggeri have done very well, actually, and I don't know if it's just to suit the sort of Danish market for beer, but they seem to have made these beers very sessionable. You know, this one is quite light in its mouthfeel, and you could easily session a few of these. It was the same with the Fada IPA, so that's a really interesting characteristic of this brewery, actually. But yeah, just behind the very front of the tongue there, you'll get this little oily bubble, and you can pick out some of these kind of red candied fruit esters. As I said, it reminds me a little bit of these heart sweets that you get from the Haribo Star Mix. You can pick up just a little bit of that in there. But that's very subtle. The other thing you feel as you move into the aftertaste, you can feel some of the bready and yeasty character just pushing its way out on the back of that red fruity ester. But again, this is a very nice beer, quite subtle in a lot of the flavours, but they all blend together very, very well. And as I said, it's quite a sessionable wheat beer, which for me is quite unusual having lived in Germany, but it's very, very good. It does take the flavour a little while to build, like I was saying too. But in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I would say it's light to mid-bodied. As I said, it is lighter than the German wheat beers. The carbonation in it is very, very smooth. It's a little bit oily, and that helps bring out some of the fruity characteristics of the beer. A little bit of the caramel malt comes out with that as well. But overall, this is a very malt-forward beer, which is exactly what you would expect from a Weizen beer, especially a Dunkelweizen. There is a little bit of hoppy character too, though. You get a little bit of dryness around the edge of the palate, particularly around the front, but in the back corners of the palate you've got a more smooth earthiness. But I mean, overall the mouthfeel is very nice. Like I said, the mouthfeel of these beers, these Indslev beers, is very, very smooth. I've never had a beer that is quite as smooth as that. Even if you have German beers in Germany and you have that trademark smoothness when the beers come out the tap, this is even smoother than that. So it's very, very interesting, and if you enjoy your wheat beers, then this is definitely one you want to try, because they are a bit different, they're a bit lighter, and they're a bit more sessionable. And that's, for me at least, that's what put me off drinking wheat beers so often, was because they are quite heavy things and they always make you feel very full. You can't really session them that much. But that said, I don't drink too much beer outside of the ones I review anyway. So yeah, I mean, overall, another very, very good beer from Indslev Bryggeri. I've got another two. I've got the Sort Veda, and I have one of the other ones, I think, as well. It's one of the Weizen box that I have in the cupboard behind me. But another very good beer from Indslev Bryggeri. I look forward to reviewing the other two in the Indslev range as well. There are other Ugly Duck beers coming up as well, so in the meantime, until my next review, please let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Go and check out the other Indslev review I've done for you so far, and the other Ugly Duck beers I've reviewed too. Both very, very good brands of beer, so you want to check them out. As I said, these ones are good if you like light, sessionable wheat beers, and the Ugly Duck ones are good if you like the more American styles, and there's a big variety, so there's lots for you to pick from. But let me know your own thoughts on this beer, and on the brewery of course too. But I thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff, and I will catch you soon with more beer reviews. There's quite a few Danish things coming up, so if you're interested in Danish beer, do subscribe to the channel, but I'll catch you later. In the meantime, go and check out Indslev Bryggeri and Ugly Duck Brewing Company. Slàinte just now.